Folks, happy Wednesday to you. Thought I'd be doing a follow-up, but it's been hectic every single week, doing things that we have to do to grow this business. The challenges, the slowing down of the economy has made it difficult for a lot of people, for 30% of our clients to be able to afford our services. We've had to raise our prices again to deal with that because the costs here in South Florida are just astronomical. We raised our prices on roach services to over 30%, almost in some cases doubling it, because it's just unsustainable. We have an economy that's unsustainable right now here in South Florida. Rents are going up. We have over 8% inflation. Unemployment is starting to show up. It's grim. It's a grim economy, and on top of that, we're throwing in a new rodenticide law that's going to wreak havoc, on our food supply, and raise prices and cause increases. And the funny part is that I told you it was coming. I told you this was coming back in 2018, 2015, after the European Union passed a law on rodenticide, making those same restrictions that we're going to be having in the U.S. The European Union passed it. I told you about it. I told you to keep your eye on California. Once something passes in California, it becomes law and everywhere else. I've been telling you about this. I started this podcast in 2014, and I've been warning you about it. I'm the only guy out here in the media, in the pest control media, openly talking about all these issues, all the problems that we have in the industry, because most people want a following of, want to become the next pest control millionaire, and very few people are actually dealing with the real issues that we as pest control professionals face. I'm going to light a cigar and celebrate what is happening, not because I'm joyous about it, but because I told you this was coming. I told you we were going to deal with this. I told you to keep an eye on California. I told you to keep an eye on Europe. I told you to keep an eye on Canada. And whatever happens in those places eventually is going to come to America. Oh, heck, I didn't cut my cigar. I'm going to have this with a coffee. Cut the cigar. I'm going to have a cortadito. If you don't know what a cortadito is, it's like 50% espresso, 50% cream, in this case. For decades, I've been listening, for almost a decade, I've been listening to pest control industry say, we got to raise prices. It's a downward spiral on prices. We got to raise prices. And guess what? Everybody on the PCT 100 is killing themselves to drop prices. Of course, you're not going to hear this from PCT Magazine. The things I talk about, you're not going to hear from PMP Magazine, PCT Magazine, and you're not going to hear it from MPMA. And you're going to have to put up with this siren as it comes by me. But as all the headlines in the newspaper back in, I forgot now what it was, 2018, 2019, a little bit before the pandemic. Headlines: California bans super toxic rodenticides that kills animals. And everybody was praising it, right? That was a second generation anticoagulant law passed really in California. And I talked extensively about that. And I told you about it. I told you, watch out, because it's going to get tougher. It's going to get worse. Here we are. I remember talking, I think in 2018, after studying what was happening in Europe with rodenticides. And the ban on neonicotinoids. And all this is in the new law, by the way, neonicotinoids. There's a lot more things I want to talk about that's in this law. Supposedly, we don't know yet. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm assuming all of it's going to pass the way it is. They're still waiting on comments for like 60 days or 75 days from public and, all the lobbying groups and everybody in rodenticides. But I am not beholden to anyone. I'm going to end up with a dead horse's head in my bed somewhere because some manufacturer out there is going to get pissed at me for talking about the facts about what's going to happen with rodenticides and most pesticides. And when I've been talking about IPM and I've been called a chemophobe, I don't know if you remember the incident a couple of years back, I think it was 2 years back at Pest World, where I was made an example about saying, that I haven't sprayed the inside with a chemical and I'm a chemophobe and all this stuff. And I've been accused of being a chemophobe everywhere and all the time, and I've been talking because I talk about IPM and I talk about holistic and I talk about natural and I talk about organic, yet I'm the first one that'll tell you most people that are using scare tactics in this industry about natural and organics are full of crap. Most people that are pushing 25B products as a cure-all that, 25B products will cure cancer one day are full of crap. So I'm the first one that's been balanced on these issues, looking at the science, looking at the facts, what can be done, what can't be done, and just being honest and transparent and saying, this is the way it's going. You can either embrace it. I embraced it 15 years ago where I realized this was the future and that IPM is the future of pest control. That exclusion is pest control. Guys like Bobby Corrigan have been talking about this for ages and ages and ages before I was even alive, I think, about how, everybody wants to solve everything with snap traps and rodenticide, and customers really don't want to practice exclusion and any type of exclusion because the reality is the market isn't going to push exclusion. The market is going to push whatever the customer is willing to bear on a contract and whatever they can sell it for. And this is a reality of the marketplace. I mean, this is not a criticism or an observation. It's more of an observation that this is the marketplace. That if you got company X saying, I will trap rodents for $300 and I will, company B will use rodenticides for $150, and company C comes along and says, yeah, but we can exclude this and you'll never have to deal with it again and it's going to cost you $1,500, they just talk themselves out of the game. And 80% of clients are going to go with the rodenticide versus the trapping. How do I know? I live in Miami, where I'm competing against people doing rodent control by throwing rodenticides. How many times do I walk inside a house and find loose rodenticide inside the house thrown in there? It's as though the last guy was here, he just threw it there. I have pictures and videos of it, footage of people doing it in HUD homes when they're supposed to be practicing IPM. So I learned that the majority of the shit everybody's talking about is total crap. When we talk about the price and we talk about what we have to charge for it, and we talk about what the reality is, the customer is always going to vote mostly for the lowest price. I know. Somebody will tell me, I just sold one the other day. Yeah, sell 100 of them in a month. Make that a practice. I mean, I have consultants telling me, I've got one client that does it. One. And he can't show me a dozen clients that are doing it. Only one. So exceptions will probably make good little niche businesses for you. However, you're not going to grow a giant company, and giant companies are the ones that are going to be dealing with this, because of things that are on this agenda. I think it's great. Now, the manufacturers don't think this is great. Pest control owners and pest control people think this is great. See, this is where the problem is. That they're going to be able to sell now rodenticides to homeowners in packages of, I think, 4 pounds or 1 pound, whatever it is. I don't know what the law is going to go down yet. This is a discussion. So anything above, let's say, I'm using just, quoting here, unquote, anything above a pound package requires an RUP license. So is it going to stop people from tossing bait packs into attics? No. This law is not going to affect the average PMP. It's not going to affect guys like me. I'm telling you right now, and I'm going out saying it, and I'm going to talk about it in the next 3 years and bring it up, and you can quote me that I said it. It's not going to affect me in any way. The average PMP is not going to be affected in this, and I'll tell you why. Guys like Bobby Corrigan are going to say, yes, finally, the prices on rodenticide and cheap pest control are going to go up so much that it's going to be worth it to do exclusion. I get it. I sold siding in Xenia, Ohio, back in the 90s on 120-year-old homes that we were selling vinyl siding to. And I know that you've got a 100-year-old home with cracks everywhere in the middle of nowhere in Xenia, Ohio, and they're not going to perform exclusion. Even though you tell them to you're blue in the face, you got to seal this. You're going to use rodenticides. You're going to be dropping rodenticide inside. They're going to force everyone to have to use stations. Customers are going to buy a half-a-pound bag, and they're going to toss them in their attic when they get roof rats here in Miami. And the rats are going to die, and they're going to live with the smell because they're not going to pay me $600, $700, $800 to deal with a rodent problem. That I can't even get that now. It's like I sell 1 out of every 10 rodent calls that we get because I'm not willing to sell it at $150. I got guys who will quote it out at $450, toss rodenticide, put a couple of rate stations outside, call it a day, and let the customer know the rat's going to die, it's going to smell, you're going to live with it, but it costs you $450. Me, I quote the same job, $695 to do trapping. I lose most of them to these guys. I don't care because I only care about the ones that say yes. I don't care about the ones that say no. We will not violate our principles. To me, it doesn't matter. It won't. This is why I'm saying it won't affect me in any way. I'm going to do trapping and I'm going to do exterior stations. And what do we do? Once the rodent job is done, we take our exterior stations with us. We remove the rodenticide. We let the customer know where all the holes are. If they want to hire somebody to fix it, great. If not, they can hire us to fix it. And, next time you call me, you're going to go through this problem again if you don't fix it. And you're going to call me again. Or you're going to call somebody. You didn't explain the value correctly to the client. If you would have explained the value correctly to the client, you would have sold that job. No, buddy, you don't understand Miami. It's a third world country. Haggling is the norm. If you don't haggle with people and you don't drop the price, you don't get the deal because that's what they're used to. It's a 50% rental market where most landlords don't want to spend the cost of fixing it because it's not on them. They don't care. They're renting this out. They're milking it for all it has. And it's in their contract that says to the renter, if you get a rodent problem, you get a pest control problem, any pest control, it's on you. You have to pay for it. This happens in condominiums all day long, where people want us to go and prevent rodents from getting in. I said, I literally have to remove all of your kitchen cabinets to seal this properly inside the unit because you got holes everywhere. I can't see the holes that the contractor left. I put my camera inside my snake camera and I show them where all the drywall, there's a gap this big, and I can see probably behind most of the walls and show them where there's a hole this big for a pipe this big that I can't get to. Boy, have I been waiting for this rant for a long time. No, you can explain value to a Cuban all day long, and he's going to go for the lowest price. And if you go to a Central and South American here in Miami and you don't haggle with them, and you've got an Arab that you don't haggle with, you won't get the business. That's just the norm. This idea that American sales training, which I've taken, I've read every single book on sales since 1985, and I tried implementing it. It doesn't work in Miami. They'll shove that up your tailpipe, and you will run between your tail between your legs. Now, what's up for the rest of America? Well, prices on rodenticide are going to go up. That's just a reality. I remember when Final, we were able to buy it in 4-pound buckets, and now we had to buy it, in the big 5-gallon bucket. We could no longer get it. First generation anticoagulants are on the list. So that means that there are going to be restrictions on that. We already got a lot of restrictions on the second generation and other non-classified, rodenticides are going to be affected. Plus, we're going to have neonicotinoids on the list. We also are looking for a 48-hour now rain restrictions on pesticides. 48-hour rain restrictions on pesticides. And you're looking at 50% half-life. Listen to this. This is one that nobody's talking about when you're reading the law. They're looking for 50% half-life in 2 days. Meaning, you're going to have contact kill products applied to lawns for you people in the L&O market like me, where we're already using products that have 4 and 7 day residuals on plants. And customers are saying, you used to come once a month and they used to spray it and everything was wonderful. Yeah, well, you don't have the climate change issues that we're experiencing here in South Florida. You're not seeing that these products, the half-life have been reduced in a lot of these products. The good thing is that I already have enough experience working with a lot of this because we use a lot of 25B products. We use a lot of 25B products. So you're looking at half-life of 2 days or less on this. That's in the law. We don't know, but for those of you who are one of the biggest concerns in this law that we really got to look at, and here's what's going to happen, folks. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. This law is going to go through. It's going to happen. There ain't a darn thing you can do about it. You remember Liar Liar when he got his car towed? And he says, what am I going to do about this? Absolutely nothing. I'm going to bend over and take it in the rear. This is what's going to happen. It's going to go through. Nothing is going to change. This isn't going to go away. We're going to deal with it. You have RUP, you're going to have restricted use pesticides, and RUP. I was talking to a PMP the other day, says, bro, one of the biggest problems I see is the RUP restriction. And he says, what the heck is an RUP? I said, the reason you don't know about it is because you don't deal with restricted use products. We have a lot of restricted use products here because I live in Homestead and in South Florida. This is a lot of farming area. And a lot of guys in the industry are using RUPs because they're cheaper. Because they're saying bifenthrin is bifenthrin, 7.9, same active ingredient. Why do I have to pay extra to use the professional one when I can use the restricted use one for farms and I can use it on resin? It's the exact same product. And I said, yeah, but what you don't understand is you're violating the law. I said, but it's the same product. I said, I understand. But using an off-label product in a residential environment is a federal violation. Stop doing it. So instead of paying $45 a gallon for bifenthrin, 7.9, you're spending $35 and you're saving 10, and you're saying that is worth violating federal law and state law and potentially getting fined. Nobody's going to get hurt. I'm not saying you're causing a risk to the environment. It's just the label is the law. Or should I say, I'm sorry, that is a misquote because the label doesn't say the label is the law. The label says the labeling is the law. And now, how is that going to be affected in SDSs, the changes that are going to come with additional PPE requirements on most of these products, which now some of them already carry restrictions like 14 mil gloves that you got to carry. And you're going to have to carry 14 mil gloves. So the RUP, I think, is the most detrimental. Here in Florida, I don't have a problem. My ID card holders, and in certain states, the federal law talks about certified applicators or licensed applicators and non-licensed applicators. You can be a non-licensed applicator because you don't actually have a license. In Florida, my technicians they're called ID card holders. I am the certified operator in charge. I am the license holder too. The company has the license, but I am the certified operator in charge. And we can apply RUPs as long as I'm available by phone in case something happens. So in other states, that's going to be a major, major problem with RUPs because that's going to require, I'll deal with this call later, that's going to require that a certified licensed applicator, other than the applicator you hired, be present on every single rodenticide application if that goes through. So anything over a certain amount of weight, whether it's 1 pound or 4 pounds, there's a lot of talk about that. I've been trying to look into the law and for the specific, but until it goes through, we're speculating. We really don't know. So now what happens? Oh, wait, there's a problem with that. Our food supply. All farmers are going to have to get now licensed and trained, just like in Europe. When you went to Europe, the European biocidal, what is it called? Biocidal products form in Europe, which give you the guideline. Look into that. There's also the UK called it the Stewardship Regiment back in 2015. Okay? Look into that. Basically, everyone had to become licensed and trained on how to properly use rodenticides, even on farms. So that's not too bad because that's not like outrageously costly to a farmer that's farming hundreds of thousands of acres a year to get his people licensed certified. The problem is going to be is if it becomes an RUP and he becomes the licensed applicator, are they going to allow him and his farmers to go make the application? Is he going to have to be present on every rodenticide application? That remains to be seen. The cost is going to be astronomical. I can just see some of you guys, pest control operators, starting to salivate, thinking, oh my God, this is going to be so awesome because they're not going to be able to do it and they're going to have to call us and they're going to have to pay our rates. And I said, no, they won't. Because there's a lot of things that you got to learn about farming and dealing in farm facilities that you're not trained in, biological hazards. And if you're walking through farms and there's problems and you're going from farm to different farms, what is the risk to that farm? A whole lot of training is going to get involved in you being able to do pest control for farmers, and they're never going to pay those rates. They can't afford it. They will have to do it. The second thing is when you have a farmer that has 100 acres of land and he just put out rodenticide, and now he's got to go through 100 acres and collect thousands of rodents and find them. You're talking about a cost that's going to be astronomical. That's why I'm saying the majority of guys like me aren't going to be affected. I just simply say we don't do rodenticide work. We only do trapping and exclusion. Screw it. I could care less. Honestly, it won't affect me in a bit. The amount of clients that we have on rodent bait stations right now, because they have rodent problems, we could go in, install the stations, look around the property in 3 days, pick up the dead rodents for them. When the rodent population goes down, we pick up our stations, we go. Next time it happens and you call us, we do it all over again. That's no skin off our back. You got 250,000 square foot, 1 million square foot facility. And it's a constant rodent pressure problem because exclusion is not possible. sanitation is not possible, that's going to be a bear. And the price of food is going to go up. I mean, we're already paying $9 and $10 a carton for eggs here in Florida. $8.97 at Publix for eggs. I find a brand that I like that is cage-free. The eggs are really yellow. They look orange when I cook them. I'm going to pay that price all day long because I can afford it. But the average person, can they afford 12 dozen, $1 an egg? Pretty much. Can you afford the price of pork going up? The price of beef, the price of chicken, it's already gone through the roof. On average, we're paying $13 or $14 a pound for meat here in Miami. A gallon of milk. These are the things that are really going to affect the change in the industry. For the average building, office building that doesn't experience a rodent problem, if they fix the entry points, put good seals, it's going to exclusion work for those guys that are doing exclusion work. It's going to go through the roof for you. I mean, it's a win for you because they're going to say, we got to do rodenticide, too many risks, got to get licensed, got to get people trained. That's just through exclusion. So, those are the things that, in some cases we could get applying here. There's pouring cats and dogs right now. We can perform 100% rodent control of the line. But when I quote out $12,000 to $2,000 for the exclusion, even exclusion work at sometimes $300 to $400, where it's just sticking excluder, going to the garage, putting a new garage seal on, putting sealing around the doors, taking the air conditioning lines and the channel, sealing the bottom of that, which should be done anyway because it's supposed to be code in Florida, yet nobody does it. This is code. I don't know how it passes inspection without doing it because it's code. And it doesn't happen. 90% of all the rodent problems we find are very simple in the air conditioning lines. I've got videos on that. Yeah, I've done it to death here, and you can go to my YouTube channel and see all the videos of doing that exclusion work. Sealing pipes in the wall with concrete and doing repair work. Simple stuff that would save people another rodent experience. They'd rather pay me the $600, $700, $800 and not pay the $800 extra to get all this sealed. They'd rather just go through that experience again. Because they got used to the cheap rodenticide guy coming in and doing rodenticide work for $150, throwing rodenticide in the attic and calling it a day, just tossing a couple of bait packs up there, and that's it. And when they die, you put up with the smell. What do you want us to do? You want it cheap? You can't have it both ways, folks. Quality work isn't cheap, and cheap work isn't quality. Yet, it's predominant in our industry. I mean, I sit at the conferences where all the manufacturers talk about raising prices and doing exclusion and doing this and doing that. And yet, nobody on the PCT 100 is really focused on getting that serious. You're the ones making the money. Because it's very simple. You're going to price a service out based on what the customer is willing to pay. That is the bottom line. I get this all day long. HOA's calling me. Oh, but we're not happy with the spray service, and we have weeds everywhere, and we have this, and we have that. And I said, look, give me your price, because I'm going to tell you my price is going to come in at 3 to 4 times more than what you're paying. If you want weed control, disease control, you want fertilizer, they want it all. And then I have an association at 6 acres. 6 acres! They were paying $350 a month. The guy was coming in every 2 months. For us to do everything they wanted was $2,000. And I said, this is why I told you that let's not waste my time going to measure and consulting and giving you this. I'm going to give you the price. If you don't fall back on your chair and break your neck and die, we're okay. But I'm not going out to measure property and give you all these estimates. When I give you the price, 99 times 10, you're going to tell me no. That's the reality. But everybody loved the illusion that they got something for nothing. Everybody, listen, in this business, the people who are making the money are the consultants, the SEO guys, the guy providing software. It's no different than in the gold rush. There were more people that became millionaires selling jeans like Levi Strauss and selling picks and shovels and mules and insurance than there were actually people getting rich mining for gold. Why do you think I'm trying to do pest control training? Because one, I'm good at it, I enjoy it, people like it, and I can make good money at it. I'm not stupid. I'm not the sharpest knife in the shed or the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm not stupid. I can see the writing on the wall where all this is going. This is why I decided, 15 years ago, I'm going into eco-friendly pest control and IPM and exclusion and 25 because nobody wants to touch it. Everybody thinks it's hocus pocus. Yes, this is where the industry is going. This is Frank the Pest Geek. Long ashes to you and wishing you a spectacular day.